So we obviously have a problem with our current practices. If we just stick with what we're doing, it's not quite sustainable. So there has been a movement to kind of go back to our roots of natural burial, and natural burial is something we've done for tens of thousands of years as humans, and it's simply just placing a loved one into the ground in the most simple way possible. We have a picture that depicts what a conventional burial looks like versus what a natural burial looks like. And you can see there's, an impermeable barrier around the coffin that will entomb the person forever. With natural burial, we want the body to decompose and release the nutrients that are stored in our bodies into the surrounding soil so that the plants and microbes can actually take advantage of those nutrients and thrive.
Good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock on Wednesday. It means it's time for 1 million cups. So the first thing to say is you should check in, and this lets the Kaufman Foundation know that we have a thriving chapter, which we do. So point your phone at the QR code that's on the screen or on these cards on the tables and chairs around you. And if you check in on 3 separate occasions, you'll get a Million Cups pen. If you check in 6 times, you'll get the coveted Million Cups notebook. So be sure to win fabulous prizes by doing that. So here's our mission. Our mission is to make it possible to be an entrepreneur. It's a lonely journey. And so what we do is we lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection for all new and aspiring entrepreneurs all across the United States. And how do we do that? We have a national and local mission. The national mission is funded by the Kaufman Foundation. They provide our software backend and train all of our organizers to train our presenters. And so there's a consistent program at every instance of 1 million cups. Wherever you go across the country, drop in on a Million Cups chapter and you'll see the same format and pretty much the same kind of questions. At the same time, every one of those chapters takes advantage of the strengths of that community. Okay, so we are the #1 Million Cups chapter in New Mexico. We achieved that through a small denominator. The other chapters are thriving. I've been to a couple of those like in person, and they're lots of fun. So if you're on the road, and it's Wednesday at 9 a.m. See if there's a Million Cups chapter near you and drop in. There's no strangers, just friends you haven't met. And here's our key pillars. This is what keeps Million Cups humming along. These are presentations, not pitches. Now, what's the difference? In a pitch, you're appealing to potential customers or potential investors, and you're putting your best foot forward. You don't have a lot of time to go into your reservations. You're just saying, here's all the wonderful things about your company. But there are things that keep you up late at night and you stare at the ceiling wondering how you're going to get past those. And this is the place to discuss those because your family doesn't want to hear about it because they told you not to start a company and quit your job. And you can't talk to people at the company about your misgivings because they'll quit. So come here and talk to us about your challenges and vulnerabilities and see if we can do anything about it. And that will foster authentic connections, not speed networking, where we're having a contest to see how many business cards we can pass out. And those authentic connections, which build over the weeks, can turn into people doing wonderful things for your company. So this is run for the community, by the community. All of our organizers are volunteers, and we are compensated in rich experience for our efforts. We're radically and intentionally inclusive. All kinds of people are welcome here. All kinds of businesses are welcome here. So that means brick and mortar places where people are selling retail. It means whiteboard companies that might have a little bit of outside funding, but they don't have a product yet. Might be companies that are scaling, and it might be companies that have gone all the way and are coming back to tell us how it's done. So all those folks are welcome here. And this is our mission. Our mission is to be an educational friendly place, right? Where you can discuss those things that are your challenges. And so in order to promote that, if you're talking to somebody who knows a lot more about something than you do, listen carefully and ask good questions. If it's the other way around, do your best to educate them, be patient, and answer the questions as well as you can. And I hope that will be an enriching experience for all of us. You can apply to present if you have a for-profit business, defined as a business that sells goods or services for more than it costs to produce them. We prefer that you've been in business 5 years or less. We will assign you a coach and we will make you look your best. My picture is underneath the text box there, but I'm Paul Sauter with Equity. Lisa Atkins, who's changing batteries right now, runs Fat Pipe here. Eric Ritz-Whitmore is keeping things going in Santa Fe. Laura Jepson, hiding over there, is setting up early in the morning here. Danielle is here. Keiko and Oscar are making other families look good. So thanks to all our organizers, and there's more thanks to make. And that's to our sponsors. So thank you very much to Fat Pipe. It'll be 12 years in August or September, I believe, that we've been here, which is fantastic. Foundation for Sustainable Living, giving us that original performance enhancing drug in the back. Beyond Energy, if that's not enough for you. Deanna with Dry Heat Photography, making us look good. Miriam with More Than organizing your stuff, your thoughts, and providing creamer. Noventum Custom Software Development for software that doesn't suck. Also, they provide donuts. And Minuteman Press for all your ink on paper needs. So thanks very much to our organizers, sponsors rather. And I'm ready to hand it off to whoever coached. Danielle. You'll get the newly recharged remote as well.
All right, good morning, everybody. We have a really cool presentation today, very informative, maybe get us some thinking about some things that we haven't been thinking about. And I'm really excited to introduce Brian Beard and Claire McFadgen of Natural Burial, New Mexico.
All right, can you hear me? All right, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate being here. We're honored that you will have us, and we want to thank Paul. We want to thank Danielle and Deanna for encouraging us. So my name is Brian Beard. This is my wife, Claire McFadgen. We are the owners of Natural Burial, New Mexico, and the land stewards of La Puerta Natural Burial Ground. With a show of hands, who has heard of natural burial or green burial? Okay, quite a few. Who has attended a green burial? Yeah. Okay, one, yep. Excellent. So what Natural Burial New Mexico is a service providing sustainable and community-centered burial services. We assist families essentially with the burial process. So La Puerta is our natural burial ground. It's the only green certified natural burial ground in New Mexico. It consists of 40 acres located at the Manzano Mountains, and it's fully dedicated to land conservation and the guardianship of those who are laid to rest there.
So now that we kind of have an introduction of what our business is, we wanted to introduce ourselves, and I'll let you know who we are as people. So we're originally from Colorado. We've been partners for 15 years. Which is crazy. And we're passionate about helping others in creative ways. We love animals. We have 2 dogs and 2 cats who are our babies, and we love them very much. And we love being outside and spending time in the outdoors. We love climbing, hiking, camping, fishing, boating, just spending time in nature.
So to give you kind of like an educational background and our professional background, I became interested in memorial design in 2008. When I graduated in 2007, between that time period, I lost 2 friends and wanted to kind of see how I could remember them in monument design. So that led me to industrial design. I wanted to see how to make these things. So I graduated in 2015. And after graduating with a Bachelor's of Science, I moved on to being a 3D architecture model maker. So I did that for 7 years, the idea being that it was a stepping stone to learning, making my ideas at scale.
And my educational background is anthropology and ecology and evolutionary biology. Those 2 things they embody the things that I've been interested in my whole life, the human condition, who we are as a species, and how we interact with the environment around us. And so from there, I went and got a master's degree in environmental public health, trying to marry the 2 even more. But as far as professional background, I've mainly worked in clinical research for about 10 years, and that's been our bread and butter in keeping us afloat. I actually am still full-time in clinical research currently. So our path to Natural Burial New Mexico was not linear by any means. So neither of us really aspired to own a cemetery or even really work in the death care industry in this intimate way. But in a strange way, our backgrounds and our interests really did prime us to be accepting and open to the idea when the opportunity arose. So And the opportunity did arise in 2021. We were camping with a good friend, Maria, and her parents actually were the ones who established Natural Burial New Mexico in 2016. We've had a long relationship with her and her parents, but on that camping trip, they just were like, hey, Maria asked Claire and Brian if they'd be interested in purchasing the business because we want to retire. So, and she did. And we, instead of kind of recoiling and like, no, that's crazy, light bulb went off in our heads and we went for it. So we dove in. Within 3 years, we moved from Denver, Colorado to Albuquerque, bought a house and bought a business. And that's what we've been doing ever since. Brian's dad always says luck equals preparation, meeting opportunity. And that's really what happened in this situation.
So we'll take like a step back and kind of see where we're coming from the natural burial standpoint. So conventional death care, it actually pollutes the earth quite a bit. We have conventional burial with embalming. These are figures from 2012, which are probably way inflated now. But essentially we're burying 300 million board feet of hardwoods, 2,700 tons of copper and bronze, over 100,000 tons of steel, 1.6 million tons of reinforced concrete, and 800,000 gallons of embalming fluid. Fire cremation is not green as people think. It does not take up more space, but it does have its downfalls. So 20 gallons of fuel per cremation. That's equal to powering a house for 2,000 square foot house for 7 days. And it ends up being about 1.7 billion pounds of CO2 released annually.
So we obviously have a problem with our current practices. If we just stick with what we're doing, it's not quite sustainable. So there has been a movement to kind of go back to our roots of natural burial, and natural burial is something we've done for tens of thousands of years as humans, and it's simply just placing a loved one into the ground in the most simple way possible. We have a picture that depicts what a conventional burial looks like versus what a natural burial looks like. You can see there's, an impermeable barrier around the coffin that will entomb the person forever. With natural burial, we want the body to decompose and release the nutrients that are stored in our bodies into the surrounding soil so that the plants and microbes can actually take advantage of those nutrients and thrive.
So what we offer, this is how we make money. We offer burial plots, so full body burial or urn burials. We have a general section where most people go. We also have consecrated Catholic and Jewish sections. We have a section of the property where families can buy plots in bulk. So the burial service itself is what we call the opening and closing of the grave. That's attending the burial with the family and showing them the steps. The burial itself is led by the family. So we offer burial containers that are biodegradable. A burial shroud is considered a container, so no one has to be in a coffin. Willow baskets are options, bamboo coffins, pine coffins as well. I personally make custom headstones, and people don't have to have a headstone. They could have a plant as a marker.
So we were kindly reminded earlier last week that what we do is much more than just digging a hole, putting a body in it, and covering it up. There's a lot more that goes into it, a lot more meaning that goes into it, and we're really guiding people in saying goodbye to their loved ones. We also have a much bigger vision for Natural Burial New Mexico and La Puerta Natural Burial Ground, which consists of two ideas or two concepts. One of those is fostering the land conservation through the guardianship of the people who are buried there. So just by having somebody buried on the land, that automatically protects that land from being developed into anything else. It's deeded and registered with the county as a cemetery. It can't be anything else. So the open space, the 48 acres of open space is preserved essentially. But we want to go further than that and actually make active efforts to conserving the land and improving the ecology. So we have restoration projects of restoring native grass, native wildflowers to help with pollinators in the area, and other plants so that animals and other things can have habitat. The other thing we want to do is create a community-centered inclusive space that celebrates those who have passed on. So not just creating a space for the dead, but also for the living. So people who can visit and experience something that is meaningful and create a community there. So we have lots of ideas for community events, ranging from fairly simple to grandiose. And one example of a community event that we've done down there is we built a labyrinth with the help of the La Puerta community, so that people who are visiting or who are doing a burial can have that labyrinth to use as a meditative practice or just a time to reflect. So we definitely have challenges. The big challenge we have has a lot to do with just breaking through those barriers of entry. Even though what we're doing is a very ancient idea, it's in a weird way kind of a new idea at this point. We're going back, we're revisiting that concept of natural burial. So we have experienced some resistance from the funeral industry, and that is getting better as people continue to ask for green options and ask for natural burial, but it still is a struggle. The other thing is people they just don't realize that natural burial is an option. So we've actually had a lot of people tell us they thought it was illegal, which it has never been illegal in any state. So that is something we struggle with. Lack of visibility. We are not social media or marketing gurus. We're doing the best we can. We found that our best method of marketing is educating, but I'm sure there's ways to improve that and get out there in the broader community. One thing we really struggle with is keeping burials affordable. That's very important to us. We want it accessible for people. We don't want it just for people who are wealthy. But we also want to think about having business that we can run comfortably. Maybe someday I can quit my job and just do the burial business. Maybe someday we can hire employees, and thinking about growth and being able to grow as a business.
So what can the 1 Million Cups community do for us? We're just happy if you tell people about natural burial, let that be education that everyone can have. It's often you hear people saying, just bury me in the woods. Well, there's that option. People don't realize it. And it's all across the country. So the Green Burial Council is a good resource to find those places that have been certified. Appropriate marketing and social media strategies. This is such a sensitive subject that we have to be careful because people are sensitive to this for obvious reasons. And then guidance for funding for our community projects and our conservation projects. We have our projects vary from something that's pretty small to something that's really big. So kind of finding the right means of securing funds for those projects. And lastly, advice on growing our business and creating a structure of something that can accomplish our goals and be something that's a legacy business. We want this to go beyond our lives. So thank you.
So much.
Questions?
You guys have got it.
Being first, I'm Michael McDonald, I'm retired. And I've been, hitting a point in my life where more friends and stuff, and I've encountered a lot of different death situations. And some of the things is kind of a realization of how integrated pieces are, and also kind of like, because I've had friends that had no idea what to do, right? And some that have a lot of idea what to do. I have people who have different needs of support, right? A brother who needed kind of a more traditional religious support, other people that need more of a community support. And one of the things, and they're kind of most people that are dealing with it are in shock and not functioning at their best. So all those industries, all those things, right, from churches to mortuary services to burial services, they're integrated and it seems like you have to have a path through that to you. And so I'm wondering what you're doing to kind of develop that path and to work with those people or to provide services that are compatible with that path.
Excellent question. So yes, it is very difficult to help people with this. No surprise, we are all going to pass away. So if you think about what you want, then and share that with someone who will care for your body, then that can happen. And that's a lot of what we are trying to do, is that education on the front end of saying, like, you know, there's things you can do before your death to prepare for this. How do you want that to look? Like Danielle's a great example of a doula who can help walk you through all the steps, estate planning, stuff like that. There's also the funeral home industry that is a staple in the caring of a body. So knowing what they offer, because they're going to let you know that they offer everything. But what's the bare minimum that you want from them, you know? And also like community-based death care. So having the loved ones care for the body is very important. So we try to just educate what people can do, like what level they can care for a loved one, so that they can plan for themselves. But it's a group effort. It takes a team to care for a body, right? I'll let Claire.
I just wanted to jump in and just say, yeah, all of those things that Brian mentioned are very true. And we have been trying to actively make connections with all kinds of different people who are involved in this process. So doulas, we're starting to make really good connections with doulas. We've made lots of connections with hospices around Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and funeral homes. You know, we're trying to continue that relationship and make sure they know we're here. And we just met with a state lawyer, so kind of on that very front end of talking to people who are thinking about planning and everything. So that was very helpful. So yeah, we're trying to reach out to network a lot with a lot of those, because we're not going to be necessarily the first ones that people reach out to. So, you know,
Right.
letting people know we're here and we exist is important.
Right. I guess so. So yes, yeah, that is very important. I would think that from the people that would be wanting to use your service would be more non-traditional. Maybe they're not very connected to religious organizations, and the people that survive them definitely not.
Yeah.
Having something that helps them get that one contact that will bring them through point would be essential for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that we do have a relationship with a local synagogue. And their name just slipped my mind, Nahalat Shalom. And so we have a Jewish section, but I think it's important to have this option for everybody. We've had clergy come down and do burial services. So, you know, it's open for anybody from all different religious backgrounds. And so continuing to reach out to those religious institutions as well is important for sure.
Hello, I'm Miriam Ortiz-Pino with More Than Organized. Michael's point was great. Keep making those connections with clergy and also with retirement homes and stuff, you know, like La Vida Llena and some of the bigger ones do lots of education. So just put that. I wanted to talk about the money part.
Yes.
Do you have packages? Like you could tier packages that would then fund the conservation stuff as well. So you could have, this is the basic burial package. This is a mid-level. This is a high level. And then if you want to do in perpetuity conservationship, so that the people that can afford it can help.
Right.
Make it more equitable for everyone.
Right.
That might be a way, you know, get endowments or, you know, a bigger package up front,
Yeah.
especially when you sell those bulk burials for families.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Having the different tiers is a little difficult because the process with natural burial is very simple and it's very much led by the families.
Right.
But I think there is an opportunity there to think about, if you have, if you are blessed with lots of extra money, if you wanted to, because our plan is also to set up a conservation easement, which is very expensive. And so we're trying to put money away for that. We do have a $250 fee for everybody per plot that goes into that fund. But if, if somebody, we could have that option for people if you want to donate to this and help.
Yeah, and then in terms of your community events, you can tie those back into the conservation thing too, like to use it for the labyrinth or something for a community thing. Do you want to have a picnic with that as well? Or do you want to just hang out? Or do you want to help us create this space for?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We have a couple questions online, so I'm gonna go online for the next one. Eve, I think you're next.
Sorry, I'm on my computer that's old. Basically, the chaplains rotate through the hospitals. My friend is Rabbi Barry. I'm not a Jew, but we have a long relationship. My stepdad was a Jew. His brother is the rabbi here. There's all kinds of levels of burials already in the old cemetery in Albuquerque. And that can be something you may want to avoid, people spending a great deal of money to put something up that's going to be there forever. But there's a meetup group that meets and they clean that cemetery because it's the oldest. She's nodding, she knows. Okay, so if you would please connect with them. And also the mortician in Berlin, that's where most of my family are buried, is in Berlin, New Mexico, because they're run out of land in Berlin in the cemetery where my grandparents are buried. So if you would, I put his information in the chat so they can give it to you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Nat, I'll come back to you in just a second. Dr. Norm, you're next.
Good morning, Claire, Brian. Great job
Thank
on your
you so much.
presentation. Very smooth,
Thank you.
very easy to understand. I'm Dr. Norm with drnormsconnections.com. I'm in the dementia defense business, educating people how to reduce the risk of developing dementia. I first became aware of this concept, not actually this concept about dying. My mom, who's living here in Albuquerque, 4 months before she passed away, I had a conversation with her about, so Mom, what's going to happen to you after you die? She said, well, I'm not going to die. She was really clear about that. She had a little bit of cognitive decline, but she was still sharp enough to say, I'm not going to die. Anyway, we found out that she'd made preparations for cremation. So I've got two questions for you. One is, I've been I've been following this concept for quite a while here. I really got educated after I met Kim and Danielle, and they started educating me about the concept of getting ready to die and all that kind of stuff. So I've been following some of the trends online, natural burials and so forth. And I came across something that was interesting. I'm just wondering if you guys have considered this, but there was a suggestion that we could compost our bodies. You guys have that incorporated into your concept? And also I have another question after you answer that one. So start with that one first.
Yeah. So terramation is what you're talking about, body composting. That is legal in about 5 states, Colorado being one, Washington, Oregon, Vermont. And yeah, and it's a great option. It does take time to break the body down. It's very similar to cremation in that, yeah, you're using carbon and materials to break the body down. And then, yeah, so it's a process.
I just want to add to that. Yeah, and so with natural burial, that's kind of a passive process of composting. So it's an anaerobic process under the ground. So that's the passive process. You're stuck, you're stuck in the ground and that your remains are there. You'll also hear it referred to as natural organic reduction or NOR. So that's another thing you might hear being thrown around. That's kind of more of the industrial process of composting. So they use containers and it's sped up. so they help with the temperature control and the moisture control and all of that. And then you end up with about a truckload of soil. So yeah, that's something that's growing rapidly. Unfortunately, it's not legal in New Mexico quite yet, but I imagine it will be at some point. So that's definitely something that's on our minds that, yeah, we would love to be a part of once it's legal.
Sure, thanks. So thanks for that answer, and my resistance to occupying any territory, and that's one of the reasons why I'm going for cremation at this point, but I'm still open to. But the other question you brought up about the legal thing, how much resistance are you getting from the funeral industry? Because I think that my imagination is that they're very tight in the lobby and the regulation and all that kind of stuff. They don't want other people crowding into what they do. So is that an issue for you guys?
That's very much an issue. So, yeah, a lot of funeral home owners will become politicians and they will structure the laws. So we do find that a lot, and they also want to keep everything in-house. They want to use their equipment, and it makes sense. They're a business, so we understand that. And I think that's some of their reservation in going with us is, a lot of people are asking for it, which is really helping us out. But it's the person who's there, securing services really needs to push for what they want, if that's what they want. Anything else?
Yeah, just to add to that, they are, with natural burial, they are somewhat relinquishing some of their responsibilities for tasks that they typically do, like embalming, selling a really big, beautiful casket. So it's understandable that they're a little bit hesitant to push for something that is actually taking money out of their pockets. So that, yeah.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Brian, Claire.
This is a very popular subject. I'm gonna switch now to someone online. We have a huge line here. Aaron, I think I passed you. So Aaron Frazier, why don't you make yourself?
Hello. So my parents own, sorry, can you hear? My parents own half a mountain in Vermont. My mom wants me to do this for her with a shovel on their land in Vermont. You can get accused of murder for that. Like, I didn't kill my mom. So what are you doing with law enforcement?
So, yeah, that is a great question. We get asked that a lot because a lot of people in New Mexico own lots of land. And so they're like, can I just bury my grandma on my land? Which the short answer, it depends. So it depends on the county. And I'm not sure what Vermont's state laws are. But that's something that you could actually go to the county registrar and ask and specify if it is illegal. Oh, you did, and it's illegal.
Yeah, and it's illegal. I mean, so I'll be accused of murdering my mother.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and it's crazy. And the laws vary greatly, not just by state, but by county. So for example, here in New Mexico, you can't bury somebody in Bernalillo County in your backyard. That's just not something you can do. But Sandoval County, that's very possible. People do it all the time. So it really depends on where you are and what the local laws are. So yeah, and unfortunately,
She doesn't want to be in a casket at all. She wants to be on the land.
Yeah, and I guess an alternative would be if you found, and I know there's a personal connection to that land, so it's not going to be the same, but if finding a natural burial in Vermont that she could be buried at possibly.
On her own land, their own land. They own half a mountain.
Right. Or you could do the composting because it is legal in Vermont. So, and then just spread her soil everywhere.
Yeah, so sorry about that. But I mean, it's one of those things where you could try your best to get a family cemetery established and just state it as that. Talk to the Green Burial Council and make your own private natural burial ground. Unfortunately, we're pretty focused on New Mexico law.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
Lisa?
Yeah, go ahead, Marty, sorry. And then Nat, you're next.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm like, I have these 3 points, so so anyway, I'm hopeful. It's great. I was like, I have to get here this morning and I knew why I needed to be here. So this is fantastic. So I'm hopeful that you've developed a really good relationship with Gail Rubin.
Yes.
And her friend Amy Cunningham out of Brooklyn is a funeral director and does lots of lobbying and lots of things about green burial. So please talk to Gail, have her make an introduction to Amy because they're good friends of mine. The other thing is, speaking of money, as a little bit, I understand you don't want it to be only for well-to-do people, but you're talking about education as the key to your work. Have you connected with the Modern Elders Academy out of Santa Fe?
No.
Okay, so Chip Conley started this, and I just think they're doing stuff in Baja, they're doing it in Santa Fe. They do lots of this stuff, so I think they'd be absolutely open to connecting with you and having you lead things there. So please do that. And then in terms of events, and one of the things that Gail introduced me to, I'm not in the death care, but I've connected over years for the work that I do, but is that there's a lot of remains left in, different places that never got. And I'm just thinking if you could tie your events to these things and have people support, support the burial of these remains, that I think that could be a win-win, and I'd love to do an event. So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the advice.
Nat, it's your turn. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, all right, I'm looking
Hold
forward
on
to
just 1 second. We have someone who's not muted.
What are we doing today? So we're making the conga canapa bread. This is the viral coffee taking Dubai by storm. Yes, it is. When did you start doing it? It started out in 2021. You weren't in the food business before. No.
There we go.
Okay, thanks, Nat.
I thought I had some special powers, but I had unmuted somebody else. The timing. I'm Nat. I run a company called Ghost Toast, which is just starting up. We just started this summer, which is ghostwriting for personal and professional use. And particularly right now, I'm focused on eulogies and also like wedding events. So like, big events, services, anything that needs to be put together. A lot of people at funeral services want like a visual element. I can help them put that together, help them write a eulogy, help support in any way. And so I just wanted to introduce myself and then also let you know that I would be reaching out, and wanted to confirm that email would be the best, or should I give you a call? Because I feel like we could do a lot of collaboration, and
Totally.
especially with like social media and what your goals are. So
Yeah, of course.
I feel like we would work well in tandem, and making this connection would be really good.
For sure. Yeah, we have lots of families who've never done this before, and they sometimes need guidance, maybe even helping them write eulogies would be great, stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and email's fine, or phone is whichever you prefer. We also do text, so, and all of our information's on our website. But yeah, I think we have lots of ideas about sharing people's stories too, and kind of putting together a collaboration of people's stories. So that's something maybe we can talk about. But
Cool. Yeah. Perfect. And I just want to say, I really love that you're trying to keep it economical, because I think that there's a lot of businesses that are really nice for people that have like yachts and nice things already, but like, everybody should have the ability to be returned to earth in the way that they want to be. So thank you.
Yes, thanks, Nat. 100%.
Thanks, Nat.
We agree.
Come on up.
Hi, my name is Chitra, and I'm a doctor of Ayurveda specializing in women's health, specifically menopausal health. And I want to commend you in terms of trying to break through this issue of dealing with death prior to it actually happening. And so I was wondering if, and the fact that you are connecting with various spiritual and religious groups, I was wondering if, as part of your educational series, if you have connected with any of the Buddhist communities, because the Buddhist communities, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about death, that this life is impermanent, and the possibility exists that you can have one of their people come to the land, do a ceremony or a talk about it, and you can partner with them. So those were my thoughts.
Great. Yeah, if you have any suggestions for people or places to reach out to, we would really love that.
Yeah, we've thought about cold calling, churches, mosques, because a lot of people would like this service. And so that's where we're hesitant to do that. Because we're so small, we want to grow, steadily instead of extremely fast. So, but yeah, we're open to talking to other, religious organizations that are interested in this, of course. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, Sue's good. So come on up. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Hi, I'm Ginny. I'm an occupational therapist. I own Restoration Occupational Therapy. My curiosity is the time frame, because if they're not embalmed, I would think that this would probably have to be a pretty timely process.
It depends.
Yeah.
Get into that.
Yeah, so an unembalmed body, everybody kind of thinks you got to whisk them away for burial, refrigeration, or embalming. Essentially, in the state of New Mexico, if someone passes away on hospice, they can be in the home for up to 24 hours. They can, you can have a home wake, you can have people come over, you can care for their body. You don't have to rush them off because it's not an emergency. This is the process. And so after that 24-hour mark, the body needs to start to be cooled. So refrigeration is a great option. Embalming essentially is to make the body look full. It's preparations for making them look like they're sleeping. So yeah, exactly. So refrigeration does a lot. We've had people who have been in refrigeration for a long time because either they were at the Office of Medical Investigator and nobody had claimed the body. So refrigeration does a lot. About a week or two is probably maybe a bit much, but funeral homes offer refrigeration, and that's a huge convenience for people that people don't realize. It's kind of the pause button, so you can gather your thoughts and get everybody assembled, because people live everywhere now. So yeah, refrigeration is really the key there.
All right, good luck. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Dawson with Purple Mulch. And what I heard you say is that educating people about what you do is very important. I was looking on the catalog at UNM, and there's a course on death and dying. I'm wondering if you could be a guest speaker in the course, because I figure if we can hit people when they're young, that they start thinking about this when mother, grandmother, father, whatever, whoever that is, that then they've got the muscle memory that there's an option. I was talking to someone recently that said that more medical doctors now have people coming in and saying, this is the drug I want to be taking, instead of the doctor prescribing it. So maybe creating those internal advocates by reaching people, not as they're looking to die or thinking about it, but before they even are aware of it. Have you looked at all into continuing ed?
Yeah, so not necessarily continuing ed, but that's a great idea to talk to people from the university. We've thought about getting in with the sustainability program that they have there and get interns to work with us. They had an sustainability event earlier this year that we went to, and it was great. And it's interesting because it seems, in our experience, young people are very open to talking about this. And so, I mean, compared to the older generation even, like they want to talk about this, and so they're interested. So that was a great experience for us to see, while they're, 20-something-year-olds are interested in learning about this. So that's a great, idea. So, yeah.
Congratulations on what you're doing.
Good morning, nice to see you. I don't know if y'all remember me.
Yes, I do.
Brian, Claire,
yeah.
I'm JP. I'm from a couple entrepreneurial things I have is Enchanted Lands Music, an amazing life wellness that I'm developing as a small business. So one thing I wanted to mention briefly is I had my mom put through a very unconventional funeral ceremony. And I heard about this in the early 90s when Gene Roddenberry and Timothy Leary passed. And they were the first people on the Celestis Earthview ceremony, where their cremated ashes were in a pod with other folks that were jettisoned into space. And then when I met them at a convention in San Antonio, I think it was like in 97, something like that. I was afforded a grant because of the story and because of the interesting connection with my mom and with space. And her pod's still floating out there and I can track it. So what I was gonna maybe offer or suggest to you guys is maybe there's a foundation that can help sponsor you and allow grants to certain people. And then the other thing is if you could get a celebrity burial,
Right.
that would definitely, I don't know if there's like anything, you can't plan those things, but I mean, it would definitely bring attention and it'd be free advertising.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I've done ceremonies for both for wedding ceremony and for hospice. And if you ever wanted to bring music into your environment, we could have a discussion about that. And
For sure.
yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And yeah, we do have a few people we consider famous there, but we won't disclose who they are.
Okay.
Out of their privacy. But yeah, those are great ideas. And I think, music and sound is, because I recall you do sound baths. Yeah. And that
would be great.
that's something that resonates in people, right? That's kind of the point. So yeah, beautiful.
Literally. Yeah, no, we appreciate that feedback. And I think, just getting people interested. I know there's a local celebrity in Berlin that we've trying to get contact with, but she's a very busy woman. So not necessarily to be buried there, but to collaborate on something with her. But yeah, I think those are great suggestions. And I would love to have, a sound bath ceremony there at some point. So yeah.
Well, I really applaud what you all are doing, and I think it's very timely in the culture of where we are in the world and with people, and to kind of get back to our grassroots, pun intended, of how we treat people, in life and in death. And so anyways, I wish you success and I hope to continue a dialogue with you all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Same.
These will be the last two questions.
Lucky me. I'm Steve with Beyond Energy and Santa Fe Fashion Week. So it's interesting I wasn't really familiar with this, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know that gentleman?
Yeah.
So he talks about being returned to Earth and then through that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of interesting. And then also, is there any other companies in New Mexico that are doing what you're doing?
Well, yeah, so cemeteries are, burying people all the time, and they are doing natural burials. So we aren't exclusive in that we are the only ones doing natural burials. Their cemeteries are considered hybrid. So that means they might require a vault, that concrete barrier that kind of preserves the coffin. They might have manicured landscapes, which are kind of ecologically barren. So what we're trying to do is, make it as simple on the earth as possible and encourage like biodiversity. So that we're the one. So if you go to the Green Burial Council, they will show you across the country where natural burial ground is that's been certified.
Yeah, and so we are the only certified natural burial ground in New Mexico, and that means that we have made a commitment to certain practices that we uphold. So we have a land management plan, and we have requirements for like the memorials, the headstones have to be laying flat to the ground. So we have much more stringent requirements that are thinking about conservation and thinking about preserving the ecosystem. Whereas most cemeteries have their own land management plan, it's typically based on more of an aesthetic look that they're looking for.
Just one last stuff. I just think it's interesting, we all have the same struggles no matter what business you're in, but I think going back to like social media, educating people at scale, and obviously most of New Mexico, but then driving that traffic back to your website, because probably 90% of us didn't even know this existed, and we have parents that maybe ask me what that. But anyway, I think social media, telling your story at scale, and hopefully driving that traffic back to your website. But great presentation, guys.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Good information.
Hello, I'm Kyle with New Mexico Chili Dog. Great presentation this morning. I am fairly new in my business. I'm starting out, and social media has really been kind of my bread and butter, getting everything up and going. I think you guys touched on something really important, which is like education, and also kind of the lack of communication about death and how it kind of puts people off. And I really think that you guys are in a great opportunity to kind of put out that content and like kind of make it a normal talking point, as well as educating kind of mostly millennial and Gen Z, right? Because we're the ones on there, and be able to kind of start that conversation and change that dialogue. And so I think my one question is kind of what are your big barriers with social media, and kind of what is kind of stopping you from like doing this thing?
Yeah, we can't use cool music because
Yeah.
that's one thing. We have these great songs that we want to pair with like a cool train going by the cemetery, and you can't do it because it's, we're a business. So that's kind of one thing. What we do on social media is we try to show the environment, space. We try to show how beautiful a desert prairie can be. That's one of our things.
Yeah, I think, so we have a Facebook and an Instagram. So I think the biggest barrier for us with the social media is just time, like sitting down and actually making a post. And I always overthink what I need to write and like, make it way more, trying to make it very meaningful for everybody. But I think for us, it's just, I think we'll do maybe one post, if we're lucky, one post a month. So just taking the time to do it is probably our biggest barrier, and thinking about the content, because we can only show, take so many pictures of a cactus at La Puerta. So thinking about different ways of presenting what we do, and, maybe pulling in more educational stuff too.
Yeah, one thing I think would be great, but we don't have the courage to ask a family if they want to send a picture of their experience, because some people do a beautiful job laying their loved one to rest. There'll be a willow carrier with like a beautiful blanket and flowers all over. And it's just like this, it's kind of like a cowboy burial. It's, we have a final ride cart, and it's just this beautiful scene. And, we don't feel comfortable asking for, to take a photo, but we probably should just be encouraging them to send us whatever they'd like to share, because that's where we want to be sensitive to people and their loved ones passing. So but I appreciate your advice. Thanks.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'm back, and I want to just hop in there with that for just a second, because I'm obviously in the same boat. We're asking for testimonials or reviews, right? It's sticky and it feels icky and weird. And the way I've started to approach it, and people respond really well, is this is something newer that a lot of people don't know about. Your personal words and story might make the difference for somebody else choosing this for their family.
Right.
Right. And so if they're already snapping the pictures, that'd be the perfect spot. So just, hey, if you guys are willing to share any of this, we'd love to put it on our newsletter, or to share it with other families who might choose this later.
Yeah.
So getting brave about that makes a big difference. It's hard. But anyway, the side note. So what's the one thing that this community can do today for you? One thing.
I think the easiest thing that literally every single one of you could do is just let people know about us, and, say, hey, natural burial is actually a thing. Like, you can do that, and this is what it looks like. And we have a place here in New Mexico that does it. Really, like, that is the simplest, most effective at this point. If every single one of you, because it comes up inevitably, the topic of death will come up at some point. And so yeah, just being willing to say, hey, did you know this is an option? That helps us out a lot.
Okay, and the final question, the New Mexico State question, red or green?
Christmas.
Green for me.
Green. All right.
For sure.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate your time today. I'm just gonna do one event because it's almost time to go. Today is our workshop, actually Deanna's workshop called, Deanna, what's the name? I tried to find it on
Things to do before taking your new business out in public.
Things to do before taking your new business out in public. It's gonna be here at 11:30. So we are going to offer free co-working between now and Deanna's workshop. So if you want to stick around today, we're gonna let you stick around. Please no loud conversations next to co-workers' desks because it's very distracting. They do pay to come here to work. So if you want to sit at a desk, hop on the wireless and get some work done, you are welcome to do that. And then we'll all stay and join Deanna for her workshop. We'll be up here. It's not on Zoom. It's only going to be in person, but we'll do the slide deck the same way that we do 1 Million Cups. Is there anybody here new today who's never been, who would like to introduce themselves? I don't think I see any newbies. Do we have any newbies online? You can unmute if you want, and I'll bring your picture up.
I'm new. This is my first time.
What's your name?
I'm Nat Rivera. I run.
Hi, Nat. Let me bring you up again.
Okay.
Welcome. So why don't you tell us who you are and how you heard about 1 Million Cups?
My name is Nat Rivera. I run Ghost Host, which is a ghostwriting, public speech coaching, and small business social media managing business. We just started in May, we being just me at this point. And I heard about you because I am part of a mastermind group that is just starting up of small business owners in Albuquerque. And one of them was like, hey, you should go. I think there's a lot of value in this group and the presentations that they put on. So.
That's right, Nat, and we'd love to have you present. So thank you for coming today. All right, I guess it's a wrap. Paul.
Okay, well, it's been another great week. I think you can see today from our presenters that this community really does want to help you guys out, right? And I certainly appreciate on your part when we say, is there anything that we could do for you? You didn't say you could die, right? And it's delicate in your business to build your customer base. But like, assuming that we're all going to make it to next Wednesday, why don't you reach out to each other, see if there's some way you can help entrepreneurs in New Mexico besides dying, right? So have a great week and we'll see you next Wednesday.